Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
Air pollution is increasingly becoming the focus of government and citizen concern around the globe. From Mexico City and New York, to Singapore and Tokyo, new solutions to this old problem are being proposed, mailed and implemented with ever-increasing speed. It is feared that unless pollution reduction measures are able to keep pace with the continued pressures of urban growth, air quality in many of the world's major cities will deteriorate beyond reason. Action is being taken along several fronts, through new legislation, improved enforcement and innovative technology. In Los Angeles, state regulations are forcing manufacturers to try to sell ever cleaner cars, their first of the cleanest, titled zero-emission vehicles, hope to be available soon, since they are intended to make up 2% of sales in 1997. Local authorities in London are campaigning to be allowed to enforce anti-pollution laws themselves. At present only the police have the power to do so, but they tend to be busy elsewhere. In Singapore, renting out road space to users is the way of the future.
Photographs depict vivid scenes of a suffragette's life. WSPU members on a self-proclaimed Monster March, wearing their official uniforms of a white frock decorated with purple, white and green accessories, women selling the suffragette at street corners or chalking up pavements with details of a forthcoming meeting. Windows display postcards and greeting cards designed by women artists for the movement, and the quality of the artwork indicates the wealth of resources the WSPU could call on from its talented members. Visitors can watch a short film made up of old newsreels and cinema material which clearly reveals the political mood of the day towards the suffragettes. The program begins with a short film devised by the Antis, those opposed to women having the vote, depicting a suffragette as a fierce harridan bullying her poor, abused husband.
A significant increase in productivity of 2.0°/0 was also achieved in the participative program, but this was not as great an increase as in the hierarchically controlled program. To bring about this improvement, the clerks themselves participated in the decision to reduce the size of the work group. They were aware, of course, that productivity increases were sought by management in conducting these experiments. Obviously, deciding to reduce the size of a work group by eliminating some of its members is probably one of the most difficult decisions for a work group to make. Yet the clerks made it. In fact, one division in the participative program increased its productivity by about the same amount as each of the two divisions in the hierarchically controlled program. The other participative division, which historically had been the poorest of all the divisions, did not do so well and increased productivity by only 15%.
One misconception, expressed by some 10% of the pupils, was that acid rain is responsible for rainforest destruction. A similar proportion said that pollution is destroying rainforests. Here, children are confusing rainforest destruction with damage to the forests of Western Europe by these factors. While 2/5 of the students provided the information that the rainforests provide oxygen, in some cases this response also embraced the misconception that rainforest destruction would reduce atmospheric oxygen, making the atmosphere incompatible with human life on Earth.
Even though the sense of taste and smell appear to have declined, and vision in water appears to be unknown, such shortcomings are compensated for by cetaceans' well-developed auditory sense. Most species are highly vocal, although they vary in the range of voice they generate, and many hunt their prey using echolocation. Primarily large baleen whales use lower frequencies and are often restricted in their repertoire. The complex, haunting utterances of the humpback whales and the song-like choruses of bowhead whales in summer are notable exceptions. Toothed species in general produce a wider variety of sounds and more frequency spectrum than baleen species, though the sperm whale apparently produces a monotonous series of high-energy clicks and little else. Few of the complicated sounds are also clearly communicative. The role they play in the culture and social life of cetaceans has been more of a wild speculation than of solid science.
All our subjects deemed the circle soft and the square hard. A full 94% ascribed happy to the circle, instead of sad. But other pairs revealed less agreement, 79% matched fast to slow and weak to strong, respectively. And only 51% linked deep to circle and shallow to square. When we tested 4 totally blind volunteers using the same list, we found that their choices closely resembled those made by the cited subjects. One man, who had been blind since birth, scored extremely well. He made only one match differing from the consensus, assigning far to square and near to circle. In fact, only a small majority of cited subjects, 53%, had paired far and near to the opposite partners. Thus we concluded that the blind interprets abstract shapes as sighted people do.
Cinema has also given a new lease of life to the idea of the story. When the Lumiere brothers and other pioneers began showing off this new invention, it was by no means obvious how it would be used. All that mattered at first was the wonder of movement. Indeed, some said that, once this novelty had worn off, cinema would fade away. It was no more than a passing gimmick, a fairground attraction. Cinema might, for example, have become primarily a documentary form. Or it might have developed like television as a strange, noisy transfer of music, information and narrative. But what happened was that it became, overwhelmingly, a medium for telling stories. Originally these were conceived as short stories. Early producers doubted the ability of audiences to concentrate for more than the length of a reel. Then, in 1912, an Italian 2-hour film was hugely successful, and Hollywood settled upon the novel-length narrative that remains the dominant cinematic convention of today.
There is an abundance of evidence to support the motivational benefits that result from carefully matching people to jobs. For example, if the job is running a small business or an autonomous units within a larger business, high achievers should be sought. However, if the job to be filled is a managerial post in a large bureaucratic organization, the candidate who has a high need for power and a low need for affiliation should be selected. Accordingly, high achievers should not be put into jobs that are inconsistent with their needs. High achievers will do best when the job provides moderately challenging goals and where there is independence and feedback. However, it should be remembered that not everybody is motivated by jobs that are high in independence, variety and responsibility.
The caloric-restricted animals also look better on indicators of risk for age-related diseases. For example, they have lower blood pressure and triglyceride levels, signifying a decreased likelihood of heart disease, and they have more normal blood glucose levels, pointing to a reduced risk for diabetes, which is marked by unusually high blood glucose levels. Further, it has recently been shown that rhesus monkeys kept on caloric-restricted diets for an extended time, nearly 15 years, have less chronic disease. They and the other monkeys must be followed still longer, however, to know whether low-calorie intake can increase both average and maximum lifespans in monkeys. Unlike the multitude of elixirs being touted as the latest anti-aging cure, some mimetics would alter fundamental processes that underlie aging. We aim to develop compounds that fool cells into activating maintenance and repair.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.